Okay, Tim, you were voted by Shaq's fans the person they wanted an interview with.
Amazing, I'm very flattered, I can't believe it. Yeah. That's great. Good to know, I'm happy to be here.
So what are we, 4 or 5 shows into the tour? How's it going?
I think this is going to be show number 5. And it's going great. Yeah. I mean, it's a tight show. It's one of the most fun shows we've done, I think. Material-wise, great new material. Crowds are fantastic.
So as musical director, what does that involve? Do you help decide with Shaq the direction the songs will take?
Yeah, I mean, we work on it together, and we have a few other people involved as well, and what we do is we kind of go into sort of a pre-production mode before the tour, and we kind of hash out all the arrangements. We bring some specialty people in to help us out as well. And we'll go through each song, and Shaq will have a vision of how she wants to approach the song. I want to do this one this way. Like we've mixed things up quite a bit on a few songs, and we've extended things, and there's like sections where she dances more, so you almost make like a massive album before the tour. So you pretty much like create this show in theory, and then while we're doing the music as well, like we're in a multi-room facility, so Shaq's working on choreography in one room, she comes back up to check on the music, we're working on the music, she says yes, no, whatever, back to choreography, and then so we build like the basics of the show, and then as I bring the band in, I send everyone the music to learn it, then they come in and we pretty much just replicate all that stuff live. But really the only way to put it together without spending endless amounts of time with everyone in the same room is to just kind of get a small group like Shaq and myself or someone else maybe, and build the arrangements ahead of time.
And you're coming up 20 years working with Shaq, is that right?
Yes.
How did you start?
Well, actually my manager at the time was Emilio Estefan, and he was managing her as well, and I was kind of this guitar player gringo who played a lot of rock and roll, and I met Shaq, he introduced us, Emilio introduced us, and we kind of hit it off because we both really were into the same kind of music, like Zeppelin and Blur and Blink-182 and Radiohead, a lot of alternative stuff that other people in Emilio's camp weren't really that into, it wasn't their forte, but for me it was. So this Latin artist who was very interested in the things, the same music I liked, so it was great, and we hit it off as great friends, and it's been fantastic. She's like my sister for half my life, half her life.
Co-wrote and co-produced Whenever as well, which is obviously. Do you remember the small and humble line coming up?
Of course.
I mean, that's probably arguably her most famous line.
Well, the small. I'll tell you that line, I mean, interestingly enough, I kind of tried to steer her away from that line.
Oh, really?
But she was into keeping it, and God bless her, she was right. I mean, like, I was more of a traditional songwriter, so I'm like, I don't know about this one, but I always leave it up to the artist. The artist writes and they want to stick to it, they're the storyteller. Yeah. So she's telling the story, and she definitely told it and sold it like mad, but I remember, putting that together. It was kind of just we were kind of doing like a Men at Work kind of concept, and with this sort of Andean flute idea that she came up with, and I had this progression, this idea. And it came together, and the fact that it became a big hit was never really planned. It wasn't, we're not even supposed to be the first single. Right. It was one of those songs that sometimes you don't pay a lot of attention to. It just kind of bubbles up to the surface, and then at the end of the album, you're like trying to pick the single, and you always thought it was this song. And then suddenly people are like, well, what about this one? Okay. So that's what we did. She wrote the Spanish lyrics originally, and then we did an English version of it. And it just happened to
You've been with her on all the tours ever since. That's a lot of tours.
And before, yeah.
How do you feel this tour's comparing to those ones?
This is probably our most streamlined tour. Tightest. A lot of great people involved, all the top people. Production value is huge, and there's like more production than we've ever carried, I think, as far as lights and lasers.
And how does it feel, because you've got dozens of shows to come, how do you feel at the start of the tour when you've got so much ahead of you? Is it sort of exciting or overwhelming, or?
No, it's great. I mean, the thing is, you rehearse for so long to get everything perfect. And those are like 12, 15-hour days for, 2 months. So once you're sick of rehearsing, to actually be able to play in front of a crowd that's the payment right there. You know, that's when it comes together and you're like, oh, thank God. I mean, doing shows and touring is great. Rehearsing is a little more, you know,
This is the fun.
a little more arduous. This is the fun part, exactly. And I hope we add more shows. I hope we keep going.
Any show you're particularly looking forward to? Any crowd that you know from over the years is always a good crowd?
They're all great. I mean, we just did Amsterdam 2 nights ago. It was fantastic. In Germany it was great. And Paris is great for us here. London is great. Latin America is like another level in a certain way because all her older songs that are in Spanish, they know every word, and it's like a really loud audience singing along with everything. So, and they're bigger venues there.
And finally, is there a favourite part of the show? Which bit of the show do you look forward to?
God, there's a lot of moments. There really are. You know, usually in a show, it starts off like, hey there, buddy. Usually anything he's involved with, I'm kind of like, not
sure.
that
Yeah,
into,
understandable.
you know.
This kid's alright, man. He's alright.
But it's funny because
He is alright.
has to say that. Albert and I have been together since before Shaq and I were together. Yeah, years ago. But a lot, you know, every tour kind of like, you know, has its start and then kind of a dip and then the finish. And this one to me is like a lot more consistent all the way through. You know, so for me, the top of the show is always like super fun because that's when you're pumped and that's when the audience is pumped. And there's really no dip, you know, it's great. And before we actually did the first show, we were thinking to ourselves, and Shaq and I were talking, it's like, is it too long? Is the show too long? You know, I don't know. Once we get a crowd, you know, in front of a crowd, and I remember after we did the first show, I grabbed her right after, and I was like, man, it felt super short. And she said, yeah, man, totally. Because we were thinking, what could we cut? What should we take out? And, you know, we kind of agreed, like, let's see how it feels on the first show, and then we can address it from there. So it came out great. It worked out to be perfect. Hey.
Good times, thank you very much. Good to talk to you.
Cheers.